Everything is changing and I hate it. That isn't the mood for this year. Hello darlings and welcome back to my channel. So today I have another episode of my Happiness Diaries series. Now this is where I talk about topics related to happiness and wellness in general, and today I'm going to be talking about change. Now this year has been a year, let's just say, for me personally and for, I know, a lot of people around me, especially my graduating class of 2019. Congratulations to all of you, you did such an amazing thing. And there is constant change everywhere in our lives, but every so often life just really decides to hit you with like the full whammy of every single stable thing in your life feeling like it's all changing at the same time. And when this happens, it's really easy to see this as a frightening, scary, negative thing that you don't want to have to deal with, and you just want to bury your head in the sand and scream, or like I tend to do, curl up in a ball and rock back and forth hoping that it will go away. But unfortunately, that doesn't actually help. So today I'm going to be going through some of the things that I am trying to do to help myself deal with all of the really big, overwhelming changes that it feels like are happening to me this year. I've had a lot go down, and not to get too personal, but for example, I did a dissertation, finished my degree, finished my university experience, graduated from university, came out of my first ever relationship, had a family bereavement, and am having to find a new home and a new job all within the next sort of 2 months. So it's been a lot. And when so much happens, it's easy to just lump all of the change into the really horrible negative stuff like relationships ending or bereavement or loss, having to move out of a house, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when, you know, you're losing all the people that you've lived with, and university ending is such an overwhelmingly strange experience, that it's easy for any change to just feel negative and scary and nah, get it away from me, yeah. But it's not. Not everything is bad and scary, and I hope that this video can help us all to get through some of the changes that life can offer us. So my first tip is acceptance. The first thing we have to do is to accept that change is happening. And it sounds sort of ridiculous, but it's actually really important. You have to accept and just allow the knowledge that things are changing to fully settle into your head. I feel like a lot of times we push against change, we reject it, and that makes it all the more difficult to be productive about solutions or finding new opportunities, because we're so busy trying to reject the fact that anything's going to be different in the first place. But writing it down maybe, or just saying it out loud, and in a very neutral way. Ideally, of course, if you can make the change positive, then do it. But I think for first accepting, just neutrally stating this thing is changing is a really good way to just feel some of that weight lift off of your chest, and to start to move towards more productive solutions to the change rather than being frightened and perturbed and just rejecting them outright. Number 2 is to separate the changes out into positive changes and negative changes. Now, ideally, of course, we want everything to try and be as positive as possible, But that isn't always actually possible. There are going to be some changes that are just unavoidably maybe sad or upsetting or frustrating or anything like that. So separating things out into a negative change, so for example maybe someone that you know is moving away, could be an example of a change that upsets you, or maybe not even positive or negative, maybe just changes that are like disruptive or upsetting to you, and then changes that are more neutral or positive. So for example, finishing a university degree is a very positive change because you've achieved something amazing, and that is something that is more neutral. It's not something that has necessarily happened to you or come out of nowhere as a very disruptive influence. It's just something that has happened. So maybe sit down, write a list, write them all out in a big list, all of the changes in your life that are unsettling you, and then try and split them up. Maybe write a new list where you categorize them or color code them with highlighters of all of the things that are more positive or more neutral, and then the ones that are really upsetting to you. And then you can start to find different ways of tackling the different categories. So for example, the more neutral changes might just require you to work through the feelings, but the more upsetting changes might require you to, I don't know, talk to people about it or things like that, and just finding that separation and finding the different ways that they affect you, I think is really, really helpful. So stage number 3 for experiencing a lot of changes is, silly as it may sound, grief. Change a lot of the time can feel like a loss. You know, if you're graduating, it's kind of losing almost a part of your identity as a student, which sounds ridiculous, but especially if you went straight into university from sixth form, then you've spent a long, long time being a student, and losing that structure and stability is really scary. So just take maybe an evening of uninterrupted reflection to start to process and work through that feelings. And it's not going to be an overnight thing. You're probably going to have a lot of times where you'll get a bit upset or overwhelmed, but it's important to acknowledge those feelings and to work through them and how they make you, analyze how they make you feel and why you feel that way. And yeah, I think that that is a really healthy thing to do, is to acknowledge that this change is a bit frightening, it's upsetting, maybe it feels like a loss, or in some cases it might actually be a loss, but you can work through the feelings and everything is going to be okay. Step number 4 is practical solutions. Some changes don't really require you to do anything specifically about them, but some changes do. So for example, if the change is that you are leaving a job or leaving university and searching for a job, that requires you to be proactive, to be practical, and to go out in search of new opportunities. And it's important to actually do that. And I'm saying this because I often do not. It can be really overwhelming contemplating a whole new state of being, if that makes sense. But being practical, taking things in really small chunks, and maybe make another list. I like lists. You may like picture diagrams or flowcharts or something. Pick a format that you find to be the most helpful for you personally, and then split the big task up into little smaller chunks. So for example, find a job. That's a really big, nebulous, ambiguous like thing. So split it up into, for example, write a CV. Basic templates for a CV that you can adapt to a new job. Sign up for Milkground or Indeed. Find an area that you would like to have a job in. You know, split it up into little manageable chunks that you can easily see and that make the task just feel a bit more doable rather than something that's like big and just, how do I do that? And always, always, always don't be afraid to ask people for help. This is for all of the things that I've been talking about. People in your life love you and they want to help you, and I'm sure that there are people around you that will be able to relate to whatever struggle you're going through, whether you need to talk to someone about the grieving process of change, or whether you need to talk to someone about a practical solution. Hey, I need to do this, but I'm really not sure how to do it. Look up things online of how to deal with XYZ. Ask family or friends or co-workers or people that you admire. Just drop them a message. They might not respond, but they might, you never know. And you know, just the world can feel like such a singular, lonely place sometimes. I know that's a bit cynical for me, but it can feel like you are completely in it alone, and you aren't. There's always people who are more than willing to help you, but they might not know that you need that help. So finding the courage to ask people for help, to say, hey, I'm struggling with this, I feel overwhelmed by a lot of the change, then I really need some advice, can you help me? Or I really need to talk about this, do you mind listening? I think that's one of the most important things we can do. It's something I've been trying to do a lot more, is allowing people to help me and talking to people honestly about how I'm feeling. And I find that it's made a world of a difference. So I think that is all of my tips for solutions for coping with change. If you have any of your own, I really, really would love for you to put them in a comment down below so that anyone who finds this video can also find your advice as well as mine. If you are really seriously struggling with a major change or several changes that are happening in your life, and you think that it's having a genuinely impactful effect on your life and you're really, really struggling, then looking into mental health services like counselling or therapy or CBT, there is no shame in any of that. You do not have to be on a ledge to be impacted seriously by something. And if you feel like it's something that you want to check out, I will try and find some links that I can put in the description in case you need them. You are never alone. Everything is going to be okay. You will get through all of these changes just like you got through all the other changes in your life, and they'll probably end up being a lot more positive for the most part than you're expecting. So that is it for today's video. I really hope that it was helpful. I feel like tonally it might have been a bit all over the place, but hopefully I can fix that in editing. Please, please, please do leave your advice for other people in the comments below, and if anyone comments and says that they're struggling, drop them a few kind words. You never know when someone might need it, and it can feel really good. So I love you all so very much. Don't forget that you can follow me on social media. You can follow my Instagram at @averyvintagedarling, and you can follow my Twitter at @vvintagedarling. You can also follow my second channel, which is for my singing, which is Rhiann Kelly the Vintage Soprano. I will leave it linked down below. I will be uploading some new videos, I promise, onto there. I love you all so very much. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope you rise to the occasion of whatever is coming your way. I know you can do it. I believe in you. You are strong, you are kind, you are powerful, you are divine. And I will see you in my next video. Au revoir. You can do it. You can do it. gonna be okay. Get your war clothes on. If your war clothes are a hoodie, wear the hoodie. If your war clothes are high heels, wear the high heels. If your war clothes is lipstick, put on the lipstick. Put on what makes you feel good. You're gonna do it. You're gonna do so well. Positive outcomes only, and I believe in you. I've forgotten what I was gonna say. It's gone.